Have you ever seen a police dog refuse to calm down, only to realize it wasn't anger, but a desperate attempt to save someone? In the middle of a busy airport, when this K9 barked at a frightened little girl, everyone thought it was a mistake. Until seconds later, the entire terminal went silent. Before we go on, allow me to wish you peace and good health. Tell me from which country and at what time are you watching this story? The sun was just rising over the Rocky Mountains, brushing Denver's skyline in pale gold. Inside the wide glass corridors of the airport, everything hummed in rhythm: the soft roll of luggage wheels, the hiss of coffee machines, the faint echo of boarding calls. To most travelers, it was just another ordinary morning. But to Deputy Marshal Cole Maddox, mornings like this had long stopped feeling ordinary. He walked with his K9 partner, Ranger, a sturdy German shepherd whose paws clicked on the polished floor. Their reflection followed them along the terminal glass, man and dog, side by side, disciplined and quiet. Cole's badge caught the sunlight briefly before he tucked it away, preferring not to draw eyes. He wasn't a man who liked attention. He'd seen enough of it in headlines years ago, when a rescue had gone wrong and a child didn't make it home. Since then, he'd built his life around silence, duty, and the one companion who never asked questions. At gate B12, Ranger paused, sniffing the air before sitting neatly at Cole's heel. "Easy, buddy," Cole murmured. "We're just walking." He nodded politely at a janitor mopping the floor and past a kiosk where a young couple laughed over cinnamon rolls. The scent reminded him of something he couldn't place a Sunday morning years ago. Maybe, when laughter still felt easy. He stopped at Skyview Diner, his usual spot. The waitress behind the counter, Nancy, gave him her practice smile. "Morning, Marshal. You want the usual? Scrambled and black coffee?" "Yeah, just coffee today." She raised an eyebrow. "Still skipping breakfast, huh? You're gonna fade away one of these days." Cole gave a soft chuckle, the kind that barely touched his eyes. "Guess I'm already halfway there." While Nancy poured the coffee, Ranger sat obediently beside the counter, his eyes alert but gentle. People often smiled at the sight. A quiet dog in a bright yellow vest with K9 unit stitched in bold letters. Some took photos from afar. Cole didn't mind. Ranger seemed to belong everywhere he went. Outside, the sunlight poured stronger through the glass ceiling, scattering against airplane tails and travelers' faces. Cole sipped the coffee slowly, letting its warmth ground him. The bitter taste was familiar, steady, like a friend who didn't talk much but never left. A small TV over the diner bar played muted morning news. Cole caught a glimpse of a report about community shelters helping children displaced after a fire. He looked away, his jaw tightening. Ranger tilted his head, sensing the shift. "It's all right, pal," Cole said quietly, setting the cup down. "We're just doing our part." When his watch beeped softly, he placed a few bills on the counter, always over-tipping Nancy, though she never commented. He nodded goodbye, adjusted Ranger's leash, and stepped back into the corridor. The air smelled faintly of fuel and autumn rain. Travelers brushed past, dragging lives and suitcases, chasing departures and homecomings he no longer had. At Security Checkpoint 2, Cole flashed his badge to the TSA officer on duty. "Morning, Maddox," the man greeted. "Quiet day so far." Let's keep it that way," Cole replied, half smiling. They moved along the waiting line, Ranger sniffing random luggage as travelers watched curiously. Cole's voice, deep and even, broke the monotony every now and then. "Good morning, folks. Just a routine sweep." To the little boy holding a stuffed dinosaur, he added softly, "He's friendly. You can pet him." The boy giggled, and for a fleeting moment, Cole's features softened. But as they reached gate 14, something shifted. Ranger suddenly stopped, head snapping to the left, his body tensed, tail stiff, ears upright. Cole felt the leash tighten sharply in his hand. "What is it, boy?" he whispered. Ranger's nose flared, scanning the air. Then, with a low growl building in his chest, he barked once, sharp, then again, louder. Heads turned instantly. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Phones froze mid-scroll. And just like that, the morning rhythm broke. The bark echoed through the terminal like a sudden crack in glass. Cole's hand tightened instinctively around the leash. Ranger's fur bristled along his neck. His gaze locked toward the security line ahead. Travelers froze mid-step, startled. Somewhere, a coffee cup dropped, spilling a dark stain across the tiles. Cole lowered his voice. Ranger, heel. But the dog wouldn't move. His front paw scraped the floor, muscles coiled. Every fiber of his body pointed in one direction, somewhere just beyond the waiting passengers. Cole scanned the crowd, families hugging goodbye. A businessman arguing quietly into his phone. A young woman with a bright pink backpack clutched to her chest. "Sir, everything all right?" A TSA guard called from the desk. "Hold on." Cole raised his hand. His stomach gave a slow, heavy turn. Ranger rarely barked without cause. Never liked this. He crouched slightly, eyes narrowing. "Easy, partner. Talk to me." The German shepherd whined, then barked again, sharper this time. The crowd began to whisper. "What's happening? Is there a threat? Someone call security." Cole straightened, his calm voice slicing through the growing buzz. "It's okay, folks. Step back a little, please." The young woman with the pink backpack took a frightened half-step backward. Her red hair caught the light. She couldn't have been more than 9 or 10. For an instant, Cole saw another child, another scene years ago, and his chest tightened. He swallowed the memory down. Ranger barked once more, then sat rigid, eyes never leaving the girl. Cole felt every pair of eyes on him now. Phones rose discreetly, recording. The air smelled of jet fuel and panic. He turned to the nearest guard. "Close the lane. Now." The guard hesitated. "Sir, just do it." As the retractable barriers clicked shut, Ranger growled low, pulling forward. Cole's boots squeaked against the polished floor as he held him back. The dog's tail was rigid, the sound deep and warning, not wild. Whatever this was, it wasn't aggression, it was alarm. "Sir, you think it's her?" the guard whispered. Cole's jaw clenched. "I don't think anything yet." The girl's lip trembled. "Please," she whispered, voice barely audible over the murmurs. "He's scaring me." Cole's tone softened instantly. "Sweetheart, no one's here to hurt you." He looked into those frightened green eyes, saw only confusion, innocence. Then he turned to Ranger, still tense at his side. "What is it, boy?" For a moment, the dog's growl faded into a low whine, tail twitching, as if caught between duty and compassion. Then his nose flared again, and he barked desperate, commanding. Every conversation in the terminal stopped. The overhead speaker crackled mid-announcement. Cole's heart thudded once, twice. He could feel it in his throat. He looked at the child, the pink backpack, then back at Ranger. The world seemed to narrow down to that single moment, a breath hanging between calm and chaos. He whispered, barely moving his lips. "You're never wrong, are you, partner?" Ranger's only answer was another deep, deliberate bark that rolled through the hall like thunder. And just like that, the peaceful morning at Denver International shattered. The silence after Ranger's bark was heavy enough to feel. Travelers held their breath, waiting for anyone to explain what had just broken the calm. Cole could hear the faint hum of the conveyor belts behind the security line, the buzz of fluorescent lights above, and the steady, anxious rhythm of his own breathing. "Step back, folks," he said evenly. "Give us some room." People shuffled backward, clutching their suitcases, phones still recording. The little girl with the pink backpack stood frozen at the front of the line, eyes wide. Her red hair framed a face that didn't belong in this kind of fear. She couldn't have been older than 9. The straps of her backpack dug into her small shoulders as she clung to it like a life preserver. Ranger's tail was stiff, his paws spread as if he were anchoring himself to the floor. He barked once more, low but urgent. A TSA officer approached from behind the scanner. "Marshal Maddox, what's going on? Your dog malfunctioning?" Cole didn't take his eyes off the shepherd. Ranger doesn't malfunction. The officer hesitated, his hand hovering near his radio. "You want me to call backup?" Cole shook his head slightly. "Not yet. He's trying to tell us something." He took a slow step forward, lowering his voice. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said to the girl, gentler now. "You're not in trouble, okay? My dog just needs to check your bag. He's a little excited today." The child's voice trembled. "I didn't do anything. My mom packed it. It's just my school stuff." Cole's expression softened, but Ranger didn't move. His eyes were locked on the backpack, nose twitching, breath quick and shallow. Cole could feel the leash vibrate with tension, like the air before a storm. "Sir," the TSA officer muttered again, "we can't have a K9 barking at a kid." People are getting nervous. Cole turned to face him, his voice calm but firm. If Ranger's reacting, there's a reason. Back up the line and close the gate. A murmur rippled through the crowd as a few officers started clearing the area. Somewhere, a baby cried. Someone whispered, "It's a bomb!" and panic began to hum like static. Cole crouched slightly beside Ranger, hand resting on the thick fur behind the dog's neck. "Easy, boy. Show me what you've got." The dog barked once, loud and certain, then started sniffing the air around the girl. She flinched, clutching her backpack tighter. "Please make him stop," she pleaded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "He's scaring me." Cole's heart squeezed. He recognized that, look, the fear of being accused when you didn't even understand why. He spoke softly, steady as a Sunday morning sermon. "I know, honey. I promise we'll figure this out. You're safe with us." He looked at the girl's backpack again, pink, worn at the corners, a patch shaped like a bunny stitched to one side. It didn't look dangerous, but Ranger's instincts had never been wrong. "Marshal," another PSI agent said quietly. "Want us to take her aside?" Cole exhaled, thinking, "No, not yet. We do this calm, by the book." Ranger moved closer, nose almost brushing the bottom of the bag. His ears flicked. Then he gave a deep, throaty growl that rolled through the terminal. The crowd gasped. One man started to film openly. Cole shot him a quick glare, and the phone dropped a few inches. Cole's tone stayed calm, but his pulse had started to race. "Ranger," he said slowly, "stand by." The shepherd didn't move. Instead, he let out a single bark short, deliberate, then sat down again, gaze locked on the girl's hands gripping the straps. "Ma'am," Cole said to the nearby TSA officer, "I want an X-ray on that backpack now." The officer blinked. "You think?" "I don't think," Cole cut in quietly. "I listen." He looked at Ranger, whose body was trembling not with aggression, but with warning, the kind that came from a place deeper than training. The girl sniffled, voice cracking. "I promise it's just crayons and my book." Cole nodded softly. "We'll see, sweetheart. Just take a deep breath for me, all right?" Ranger whined low, the sound oddly tender, almost protective. Cole felt it too, that strange tug of empathy beneath the rising alarm. Somewhere beyond the checkpoint, a loudspeaker announced boarding for flight 247 to Boston. Ordinary life went on, unaware that this little corner of the airport had frozen in time. And in that stillness, Cole Maddox realized the day had just turned from routine to something else entirely. The security team moved with quiet precision now, each gesture deliberate. The chatter had faded into whispers. Travelers were guided toward nearby gates, the way people move when they sense danger but aren't sure where to look. Cole stayed beside the girl, lowering himself slightly to meet her frightened eyes. "Hey," he said softly. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Ellie." "That's a pretty name," Cole replied. "How old are you, Ellie?" 10, she whispered, clutching the straps of her backpack tighter. Cole nodded, offering the smallest smile. "I know this looks scary, but you're doing just fine. Ranger just wants to make sure everything's safe before you fly, okay?" Her lip trembled. "My mom said not to talk to strangers." "Well," he said, his tone somewhere between a sigh and a chuckle, "your mom sounds smart. Let's call this a special exception." Ranger stood motionless beside him, tail lowered, ears pricked forward. His eyes never left the pink backpack. When one of the TSA officers approached with the portable scanner, the dog gave a low growl, a warning, not a threat. Cole raised a hand. "Easy, Ranger. Let him do his job." The officer knelt beside the conveyor, carefully placing the backpack onto the X-ray belt. The monitor flickered to life in shades of blue and gray. For a long moment, nothing seemed unusual. Shapes of pencils, a stuffed toy, a small notebook. Then, faint lines appeared under the fabric. Straight, repeating, metallic. "What is that?" the officer murmured. Cole leaned closer. The pattern was too neat, too deliberate. His gut twisted. "Run it again," he said. The image sharpened. The metallic shapes gleamed like threads hidden beneath the cloth. Someone had stitched something into that backpack, something that didn't belong. The TSA agent turned to Cole. "Sir, do we—" "Don't touch it," Cole interrupted. His voice was low but steady, The kind of calm that only came after years of learning what fear could do. "Get the area clear and call hazmat, now!" The crowd had already sensed it. Whispers turned into quick footsteps, retreating toward the concourse. Cole kept his focus on the little girl. "Ellie," he said gently, "you're not in trouble. Do you understand that?" Her chin quivered. "But why's everyone scared?" He took a slow breath, choosing his words. "Sometimes, sweetheart, people get scared before they understand the truth. We just need to figure out what your bag's trying to tell us." She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "It's just my school stuff. My mom packed it for me this morning." Ranger gave a soft whine, brushing against Cole's knee, as if to remind him, trust instinct. Cole nodded slightly, his hand settling on the dog's back. "Where's your mom now, Ellie?" "She went to get juice," the girl said, rubbing her sleeve across her cheek. "She said she'd come back soon." Cole exchanged a glance with the TSA officer. Something cold tightened in his chest. He'd seen too many cases start with sentences like that. "All right," he said quietly. "We'll wait for her to gather. No one's going to hurt you." Ranger shifted closer to the child, his expression softening. The tension in his shoulders, easing just enough to let Ellie reach out and touch his fur. Her fingers trembled at first, then stilled when Ranger stayed still beneath her hand. "He's warm," she said softly. "Yeah," Cole replied. "He's good at keeping people safe." The portable scanner beeped again, breaking the fragile calm. Cole turned to look at the monitor, and this time, even the seasoned officer beside him inhaled sharply. There, beneath the lining of the backpack, were several small rectangular objects, flat, metallic, arranged in a grid. Not wires, not toys. Something built to hide. Cole straightened slowly. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "Get me a visual tech here, now." As the agents moved, Ranger let out one more bark, short, decisive, echoing across the checkpoint. Passengers at nearby gates turned their heads. A woman gasped. Phones started recording again. The airport, for a heartbeat, seemed to stop breathing. Cole exhaled slowly through his nose. He knew that sound from Ranger. It wasn't fear, and it wasn't confusion. It was a warning. He rested a hand on the shepherd's harness and whispered, "Good boy. You found something." Ellie's small voice broke the silence. Did I do something wrong?" Cole looked at her, his expression unreadable but kind. "No, honey, you didn't do anything wrong. He looked at the monitor again, the metallic shapes glinting back like secrets trying to surface. Then he said, more to himself than anyone else, "But someone sure did." The moment stretched, quiet and taut, and just then, a sharp crackle from the intercom split the air. "Marshal Maddox," a voice said, tense and urgent. "We have an incoming match from the system. You need to see this." Cole's hand tightened on the leash. He met Ranger's gaze, the silent understanding between them almost human. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. It was only beginning. The small inspection room smelled faintly of disinfectant and cold metal. Its fluorescent lights buzzed quietly, washing every surface in a sterile white glow. Outside, the airport's rhythm continued footsteps, rolling wheels, distant laughter, but inside, time seemed to slow down. Cole stood beside the stainless steel table, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the pink backpack lying in the center. Ranger sat alert at his feet, his breathing steady but low, the kind of silence that came before truth revealed itself. The door opened, and Officer Grace Morales entered, a tall woman in a Navy TSA uniform, with calm eyes that could cut through panic like a knife through smoke. She carried a portable X-ray unit, setting it down carefully. "All right," she said. "Let's see what's hiding in there." Cole gave a small nod. "We'll take it slow. No one touches the lining yet." Grace scanned the bag again. The screen flickered with a pulse of color: blue, gray, silver. The shapes that appeared looked almost innocent at first glance. Crayons, a stuffed rabbit, paper folded into hearts. But beneath the soft surface, something else glowed: thin metallic strips, stitched under the inner layer, too uniform to be accidental. Grace leaned closer. "That's not jewelry or batteries," she murmured. "Looks like circuitry." Cole's stomach tightened. Who would hide circuitry inside a child's bag? Ranger gave a low, uneasy growl. Cole's hand found the dog's back automatically, fingers curling in the coarse fur. He had learned long ago to trust that sound more than any machine. He turned toward the girl, who sat in a corner chair, knees drawn up, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her small voice barely carried. Did I do something bad?" Cole knelt down so they were eye level. "No, Ellie. You didn't do anything wrong." His voice softened. "You just carried it, that's all." She sniffled, tears clinging to her lashes. "Mom said not to open it. She said there was a surprise for me." That word surprise made Cole's heart sink. He'd heard it before, in briefings, in testimonies from people who'd unknowingly carried things across borders, across lives. He rose slowly, turning back to Grace. "We'll get a portable deconstruction kit in here," he said. "If it's electronic, we need to see the components without damage." Grace nodded, her brow furrowed. "I'll call for tech support." Ranger started pacing, the faint click of his claws echoing in the room. He wasn't barking now, he was searching, tracing invisible trails in the air. Cole could almost read him. Something's close. Something's not right. The intercom crackled. "Unit 7, we've got you connected to visual analysis. You should see the feed in 3, 2, 1. The X-ray image sharpened again, and Grace inhaled sharply. "There's a false bottom." Cole stepped closer. "Can you confirm?" She magnified the image. A darker rectangle appeared beneath the lining, deliberately stitched, its edges sealed like a pocket within the bag itself. "That's no accident," she said quietly. Cole's voice was almost a whisper. "Someone went through a lot of trouble to hide something in a 10-year-old's backpack." He turned back to Ellie. "Sweetheart, when your mom gave you this bag, did she say where she got it?" Ellie hesitated. "She bought it at the store last week, I think. She said it was special." "Special how?" "She said it was made just for me." The girl looked up, innocent and confused. "Because I'm special too." Cole's chest ached. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You sure are." Ranger stopped pacing and sat abruptly, his head turning toward the bag again. A low rumble formed in his throat, a warning. Grace frowned. "We're getting a weird signal from the chip scan." "Define weird," Cole said. "It's reading encrypted data patterns. Note explosivas digital." Cole felt his pulse rise. "Encrypted? In a child's bag?" Grace looked at him. "This isn't about a bomb, Cole. This is smuggling." He stared at the backpack, anger tightening his jaw. The same old story, greed dressed up as innocence, adults hiding their sins in the hands of children. Ranger barked suddenly, a single sharp sound that made everyone jump. "Okay," Cole muttered, eyes narrowing. "Let's open it up." Grace hesitated. "You sure?" "I'm sure." He pulled on a pair of gloves, unzipped the outer pocket, and began to peel back the fabric slowly. The crinkle of nylon filled the quiet room. Inside lay crayons, a chocolate bar half unwrapped, a coloring book with bent corners. Ordinary things. "Looks normal," Grace whispered. Cole's instinct said otherwise. He ran a hand along the bottom seam. It felt thicker than it should, uneven, as if something had been stitched hastily beneath. He picked up a small flashlight and tilted it against the cloth. A faint shimmer glinted back. "There," he said, "cut it open." Grace handed him a small scalpel. He sliced through the stitching carefully, peeling back the layer to reveal a hidden compartment, smooth, flat, perfectly shaped. Inside lay several wafer-thin metallic chips, no bigger than coins, each one wrapped in soft pink cloth. Grace exhaled. "Good Lord." Cole studied them under the light. Not batteries, not electronics from a toy either. Ranger gave a low whine and took a cautious step closer, nose twitching. Cole murmured, "I know, boy. I feel it too." He turned to Grace. "Let's get these under forensic scan. Someone built a system here, something meant to move quietly." Grace nodded, her expression hardening. "And used a little girl to do it." Cole looked at Ellie, still hugging her rabbit, eyes big with fear and confusion. Something deep in him, some old wound that had never fully healed, throbbed again. He took a slow breath. "We'll find who did this. I promise." The air in the inspection room grew heavier as the seconds stretched on. Grace worked quietly, setting up the portable scanner while Cole stood watch. Ranger sat by his side, his amber eyes fixed on the open backpack, as if it might speak. The monitor flickered to life, bathing the walls in a pale blue glow. Data scrolled across the screen, strings of code, serial markings, coordinates. Grace's brows furrowed. "This isn't random hardware," she murmured. "These are data storage wafers, military-grade encryption. Somebody embedded classified materials in these chips." Cole's goo tightened. "And sent them through a child's backpack?" "Looks that way," she exhaled sharply. "They used her as cover." Ellie, sitting on the edge of the chair, blinked through her tears. "I told you it's not mine," she whispered. Cole turned toward her, his voice low and steady. "I know, sweetheart. None of this is your fault." Ranger shifted, his tail brushing lightly against Ellie's leg. She reached out, fingers trembling, and touched his fur. The dog stayed still, leaning slightly into her hand, as if understanding the weight of her fear. Grace kept typing, eyes narrowing at the screen. Whoever encoded this knew what they were doing. These wafers are transmitting faint signals. Someone might be tracking them remotely. Cole's expression darkened. "Then someone out there knows we found them." A knock at the door broke the silence. A uniformed officer leaned in. "Marshal, we found someone asking about a missing kid. Says she's the girl's mother." Cole's head snapped up. "Bring her to holding, now." The officer nodded and disappeared. Cole looked at Ellie. "We'll see if that's really her, okay?" Ellie's face brightened through her fear. "Mom's here?" Cole forced a small smile. "We'll find out." Grace turned off the scanner. "You think it's legit?" "Not a chance," he said quietly. "No mother leaves her child alone at a checkpoint with a bag like this." Ranger let out a low growl, almost agreeing. When the door opened again, a woman stepped in, tall, mid-30s, hair perfectly arranged, despite the tension in her face. Her voice came fast, rehearsed. "That's my daughter. Ellie, baby, it's okay. Mommy's here." Ellie jumped up, tears spilling anew. "Mom!" Cole raised a hand gently, stepping between them. "Ma'am, hold on. We need identification first." The woman blinked, caught off guard. "Identification? She's my child." "Name?" Cole asked. "Melissa Parker. Grace checked the manifest on her tablet. "That's not the name listed on the child's boarding ticket. The ticket was purchased under Eleanor Grant." The woman hesitated for a fraction too long. "That's her stepfather's name," she said quickly. Cole studied her face, the tremor in her jaw, the way her eyes darted toward the backpack, then away. "You're sure?" "Yes, she's my daughter." He could hear the break in her voice. Whether from guilt or fear, he couldn't tell. He'd seen it too many times before. "Where were you when security called for guardians?" he asked. I went to the restroom," she said. "Just for a minute, please. She gets scared when I'm not around." Ellie reached for her mother again, tears streaming. "Mom, what's happening?" Cole took a slow breath. "Ma'am, I understand you're worried, but we found something inside your daughter's backpack. Something that shouldn't be there." Melissa's eyes flicked wide. "What do you mean?" Grace held up one of the small metallic wafers sealed in a plastic bag. "You wouldn't happen to know how this got in her bag, would you?" The woman's hand trembled. "No, of course not." Ranger let out a low, guttural growl that filled the room. Cole's gaze hardened. "He doesn't bark without a reason, ma'am." "You sure you don't want to try that answer again?" Melissa's composure cracked. "Please," she whispered. "I didn't have a choice." Grace frowned. "Didn't have a choice?" Tears welled in Melissa's eyes. "They said if I didn't carry it, they'd take her. I swear, I didn't know what was inside." Ellie clutched her rabbit, confused. "Mom? Who's they?" Cole exchanged a look with Grace. The woman might have been lying, but the fear in her eyes wasn't fake. He softened his tone. "Who told you to do this?" Melissa shook her head. "I can't. They're watching." "Oh, watching from where?" But before she could answer, the hallway erupted with a sharp noise, a crash, followed by shouts. Ranger was on his feet instantly, ears up, body tense. Cole's instincts kicked in. He reached for his radio. "Security! Report!" Static. Then a frantic voice. "Unit 7, we've got movement near checkpoint. 2 female suspect fleeing toward Gate 14. Cole's pulse surged. "Gate 14. The same one from earlier." He met Ranger's eyes. "That's our cue, partner." To Grace, he said quickly, "Stay with the girl and the mother. Lock this room down." Grace nodded, already positioning herself by the door. Cole snapped his badge to his belt, tightening Ranger's harness. "Let's move." The shepherd barked once, sharp and eager, and the two of them burst through the hallway, boots striking tile, adrenaline rising with every echoing step. Behind them, Ellie's small voice called out, fragile and frightened, "Please bring my mom back." Cole didn't look back. He didn't have to. He'd made a promise to Ellie, to himself, to the ghosts of every case that had ended wrong. This time, no one was getting hurt on his watch. The corridors of Denver International stretched ahead in long, echoing lines of glass and steel. Cole and Ranger ran through them, the sound of their steps blending with the distant rumble of aircraft outside. The PA system continued its calm announcements, absurdly out of place amid the rising chaos. "Female suspect, gate 14, Cole said into his radio. "Approximate height, 5 to 7, dark hair, blue jacket. Repeat. Do not engage until visual confirmed." "Copy that," came the crackling reply. "All exits are locking down." Ranger's paws struck the tile in rhythm with Cole's stride, his breath short and steady. Passersby turned as the pair rushed past, some clutching their luggage, others freezing where they stood. The dog was the first to catch the scent ears forward, body tensing as he veered toward a side corridor lined with vending machines. Cole slowed, one hand resting on his holster, though he had no intention of using it unless necessary. He crouched low beside Ranger. "Where is she, partner?" Ranger sniffed once, then darted forward toward the far end of the hall, barking sharply. Cole followed. The woman appeared suddenly in the reflection of a glass wall, hair disheveled now, jacket half open, a security badge hanging loosely from her hand. She was fast, but panic had made her sloppy. When she turned, Cole was already there, blocking her path. "Melissa Parker," he called. His voice carried, calm but commanding. "You need to stop right now." She froze for a heartbeat, eyes wild, then tried to turn back the other way. Ranger barked, cutting her off, his growl echoing through the hall. Cole advanced slowly, hands open, palms visible. "Don't do this. You run, and things get worse for you, and for that little girl." Tears streaked down Melissa's cheeks. "You don't understand." "Then help me," he said quietly. "Tell me who you're running from." Her voice broke. "They said they'd find me if I talked." "Who?" She shook her head violently. "I can't." Cole stepped closer, keeping his tone even. "You're not the first person they've used, are you? This isn't just about data smuggling. It's about something bigger." Her eyes flicked toward the windows, as if she could see through the glass and back into the world she'd just fled. "They know everything," she whispered. "Every shipment, every agent, every route. It's all in those chips." Cole's stomach turned cold. "Intelligence data?" She nodded, trembling. "They were supposed to move it through couriers no one would suspect. Families, kids, single parents. They paid me to carry one bag, just one, said no one would ever notice." "And you believe them?" Her lip quivered. "I didn't believe them. I was desperate. My husband left last year. The bills were drowning me. And Ellie, she needed school, food, a home. I thought it was harmless." Cole exhaled slowly, the anger in his chest, not for her, but for whoever had cornered her into this. He'd seen that same look before, the quiet collapse of someone trying to survive in a world too cruel for mercy. "Melissa," he said gently, "you're not beyond fixing this, but you have to tell me who gave you the bag." She glanced past him again, toward the far concourse. "You wouldn't believe me. Try me." Her lips parted, a whisper escaping before she could stop it. "It wasn't their idea. It was hers." Cole frowned. "Whose?" "The woman who gave me the job. Veronica Hale." The name hit him like a cold wind. He'd heard it before, an ex-security contractor, fired 2 years ago for manipulating cargo manifests. Rumor had it she'd vanished overseas. "She's here?" he asked. Melissa nodded once. "She came back, said she was cleaning up old mistakes." Cole felt Ranger shift beside him, growling softly as if sensing a new danger close by. "Where is she now?" Melissa's voice dropped to a whisper. "Watching. She said she'd know if I talked." A shadow moved across the glass wall at the end of the corridor, a reflection of someone standing just around the corner. Cole's instincts flared. He raised a hand. "Melissa, get down." But the warning came half a second too late. The corridor lights flickered. A sharp crack rang out glass shattered somewhere near the vending machines. Ranger barked furiously, pulling against the leash. Cole ducked, covering Melissa as shards rained down around them. "Security breach, Section C, Gate 14, he shouted into the radio. "We've got an armed suspect. Repeat, armed suspect." Through the chaos, a figure darted from the corner, dressed in black, face obscured by a hood. No weapon visible, but the confidence in her stride, the precision in her movement, told Cole this wasn't panic, this was control. Veronica Hale. Ranger lunged forward, teeth bared in warning. Cole's voice cut through the air. "Ranger, hold!" The dog froze mid-step, muscles coiled like springs. Veronica paused at the far end of the hall, eyes locking on Cole. Then, with an unsettling calm, she said, "You should have stayed out of this, Marshal." Cole rose slowly, glass crunching beneath his boots. "You shouldn't have used a child." Her mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Children are the only ones people still trust." And then she turned, sprinting toward the maintenance exit, vanishing through the emergency door before the alarms even finished blaring. Cole took off after her, heart pounding. Ranger surging ahead. Behind him, Melissa called out, "Please, don't let her hurt my daughter!" He didn't answer. There wasn't time for words. Only the chase, the sound of Ranger's claws striking tile, and the pounding truth in his chest. Justice didn't wait, it ran. The alarm's wail cut through the terminal, shrill and echoing, a pulse of red light flashing across walls of glass and steel. Cole ran, boots pounding against the slick tile, Ranger leaping ahead in perfect rhythm. Every few strides, the dog barked, sharp and deliberate, guiding him like a compass through the confusion. "Security lockdown. Section C," the intercom blared. "Evacuate. Immediately." Cole's radio crackled. "Marshal Maddox, suspect heading through maintenance corridor 2 north exit." "Copy," Cole replied, breathing hard. "Seal off all outer doors. Nobody in or out without my clearance." "Oh." The corridor twisted into a narrow service tunnel, dimly lit and humming with the sound of air vents. Ranger slowed, nose low to the ground, following the faint trace of perfume and metal. Cole's pulse matched the rhythm of his footsteps. The chase wasn't just adrenaline, it was something deeper, something familiar. He'd been here before, chasing ghosts he couldn't save. He caught movement ahead, a flicker of dark fabric disappearing through a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." He pushed forward, kicking it open. Veronica Hale stood near the far wall, framed by the glow of emergency lights. The hood was down now. Her hair was short, almost silver, her eyes sharp with something between anger and resignation. She held no weapon, only a small device in her right hand, a blinking blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. "Don't come closer," she said calmly. Cole stopped 10 feet away, hands open. "You're making this worse, Veronica." "I already made it worse," she replied. 2 years ago, when I trusted the wrong people. This is me cleaning up what's left." "You call smuggling encrypted files through a child cleaning up?" Her laugh was dry, tired. "You think I wanted this? Those wafers, what's on them, could tear down everything we've built. The people I worked for would rather bury it under innocent names than face the truth." Cole shook his head. "So you decided to become judge and jury?" M sighed. "I decided someone had to finish it." She looked at the blinking device in her hand. "One signal, and every copy of that data goes dark forever. Or it detonates," Cole said quietly. Veronica's eyes flicked toward him. "You always assume the worst, Marshal." "Experience," he said. Ranger growled softly, inching forward. Cole gave a subtle gesture for him to hold. "Put it down," Cole said. "We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." Her voice cracked for the first time. "They took everything, my job, my name, my life. You think I don't know what they did to her?" "Her who?" Veronica's composure faltered. "Melissa. She was part of my team once. She wanted out. They used her daughter to keep her quiet." Cole's heart stilled. "You used her daughter." "I tried to protect her," Veronica snapped. "They were watching. I needed leverage to keep them from killing the girl. The backpack was a decoy, an insurance policy. But then they changed the plan." Cole's voice softened. "And now you're running from the same people." She didn't answer, but the truth was already there, trembling behind her eyes. "Let me help you," Cole said. "You hand that over. I'll make sure no one buries the truth again. But you have to trust me." Veronica shook her head, tears glinting. "You still believe in justice, don't you? I envy that." "I believe in second chances," Cole said. "You want redemption? It starts here." "Lao?" She looked at him for a long moment, the weight of years in her silence. Then she took one small step forward, lowering the device. "Maybe you're right." Ranger's ears flicked. Cole held his breath, and then an echoing voice from behind, distant but clear through the open vent. "She's in there! Take her down!" Veronica's face twisted with panic. "They found me." "Veronica, don't—" Cole started, but she pressed a sequence of buttons. The device blinked faster. Ranger barked sharply, lunging forward as Cole reached for her wrist. The device clattered to the floor, sliding across the tile. Cole kicked it aside, grabbing Veronica's arm. "Enough," he shouted. "It's over." She struggled once, then went still, the fight leaving her body. "You don't know what you've stopped," she whispered. Ranger pawed at the device, sniffing it. The blue light had turned steady, no longer flashing. Grace's voice came through the radio. "We've intercepted the signal. Data line secure. Whatever she triggered, it's offline." Cole exhaled slowly, still gripping Veronica's wrist. "You just saved that little girl's life, whether you meant to or not." Veronica's eyes glistened. "Then maybe there's still something left of me worth saving." Cole nodded once. "Maybe there is." He turned toward the sound of approaching footsteps, security units storming down the hall. Ranger sat beside Veronica, watching her with the quiet dignity of something older than human judgment. As officers moved in, Veronica looked up at Cole one last time. "You'll take care of the child?" He met her gaze. "You have my word." She closed her eyes, relief softening the hard lines of her face. "Then maybe justice isn't gone yet." The officers led her away in silence. Cole stood in the empty hall, listening to the faint echo of her words, the hum of the airport, returning as if nothing had happened. He knelt beside Ranger, rubbing the dog's neck. "Good work, partner. We're not done yet." Ranger leaned into his touch, tail thumping once. Through the glass door ahead, dawn was breaking again, another light rising over the Rockies. For a moment, Cole let himself breathe, knowing what came next would be harder. Facing the little girl waiting for her mother, and explaining why truth never came without pain. The sun had climbed higher above the Rockies by the time Cole returned to the central terminal. The chaos had quieted into uneasy order officers moving in small clusters, travelers whispering among themselves, the faint hum of engines rising beyond the glass. Yet under that calm, something still felt wrong. Grace met him halfway across the concourse, tablet clutched to her chest, her face pale. "They've started decrypting the wafers," she said. "You should see this." Cole followed her to the temporary command post near Gate 12. Screens lined the wall, each showing layers of code and transmission maps. A digital storm of stolen identities, travel records, and airport access codes. Grace pointed to one line glowing red. "That chip you confiscated from Veronica's device, it wasn't meant to detonate anything. It was broadcasting." Cole frowned. "Broadcasting what?" "Coordinates," she said grimly. "For drop points. Multiple airports, multiple states. Denver's just the first." Cole rubbed his temple. She wasn't bluffing then. She said there were more. Grace nodded. At least 5 outbound flights were flagged within the same 2-hour window. Boston, Dallas, Phoenix, Miami, and Seattle. All tied to luggage from the same courier line. He swore under his breath. "They're using the same pattern. Families, kids, decoys." Grace looked up. "We've grounded the flights, but not before 3 already took off." Cole's stomach tightened. "Which ones?" "Phoenix, Miami, and Boston." The thought of it, the same nightmare repeating miles away, made his heart pound. He turned to Ranger, sitting at his heel, eyes sharp, waiting. "Looks like our work isn't over yet, buddy." Grace hesitated. "What about the woman Veronica?" "Still in holding," Cole said. "She's cooperating for now, but she's scared. That means whoever's behind this is still out there." Grace's voice dropped. "And what about the little girl?" "She's with Child Services for now," he said, though his tone softened. "I told her I'd come back." He paused, looking out toward the tarmac where planes gleamed beneath the late morning light. The weight of failure pressed against his chest. For every crisis he stopped, there was another waiting to begin. Grace broke the silence. We traced one of the names tied to the chip's origin. Guess where it leads? Tell me. A tech logistics firm out of Houston Ecliptic Systems. They handle security contracts for half the major airlines. Cole's eyes narrowed. They're supposed to protect this data, not steal it. Exactly. Which means either someone inside is dirty, or someone higher up wants it to stay hidden, he finished. Ranger let out a soft huff, as if in agreement. Cole picked up his badge, sliding it back onto his belt. Get me a manifest for the Phoenix flight. If one of those bags is live, we need to intercept it before landing. Grace hesitated. You're not thinking of boarding a connecting flight, are you? He gave a half smile, tired but determined. I'm thinking about stopping the people who put a child in the crossfire. If that means chasing ghosts across the country, then yeah, I'm thinking exactly that. The radio on his shoulder crackled. Unit 7, report to holding. The detainee's asking for you. Cole exchanged a glance with Grace. Veronica? Who else? He nodded, his jaw tightening. Tell them I'm on my way. As he walked, the terminal buzzed faintly behind him, passengers whispering, officers debriefing. But his focus was miles away, where planes cut through open sky toward destinations that might already be compromised. Ranger's paws clicked softly beside him, a steady rhythm against the tile. Cole looked down at the dog, the only partner he truly trusted. She's not done yet, he murmured, not by a long shot. Ranger gave a quiet whine, his ears twitching. Cole adjusted his badge and headed toward the holding cells, his mind racing ahead to the conversation waiting for him, the one that might finally reveal who started all of this and how deep the betrayal ran. The holding room was cold, the hum of lights steady. Veronica sat at the table, wrists cuffed, eyes hollow. Cole entered with Ranger beside him, the dog's presence grounding the silence. You asked for me? Cole said. Veronica nodded faintly. You think you stopped them? You haven't. Ecliptic Systems runs this whole thing. Stolen airport data, hidden in kids' luggage. They own the network. Cole's jaw tightened. Why tell me now? She sighed. Because I saw that little girl's face. I can't let them use her again. Grace's voice came over the radio. We found their hub a warehouse near Houston. They're wiping the servers right now. Cole turned back to Veronica. You just saved a lot of people. Her eyes glistened. Then go finish it. He nodded once. I will. And outside, sunlight spilled through the windows as Cole knelt beside Ranger. We're heading to Houston, partner. One last stop. The shepherd wagged his tail, ready. Justice wasn't over, not yet. The highway stretched endlessly south, a silver ribbon cutting through the flat plains of New Mexico. The radio crackled softly with weather updates and trucker chatter, but Cole barely listened. His mind replayed Veronica's words on a loop. They call it the vault. Shut that down and you stop everything. Ranger lay stretched across the back seat, head resting on his paws, eyes half closed but alert. Every so often, the dog's ears twitched at the sound of passing traffic or the hum of the engine. Grace sat in the passenger seat, flipping through data on her tablet. Satellite imagery picked up heavy electrical activity outside Houston, near an old cargo distribution yard, she said. It matches Veronica's description almost perfectly. Cole adjusted his grip on the steering wheel.
Security company owned it.
Technically, yes, but on paper, it's leased to a shell corporation, Lysander Logistics. She sighed. Real creative. Cole gave a dry smirk. Criminals aren't poets. The road signs counted down the miles. As the day faded into the dusty pink of Texas twilight, they finally pulled into a quiet diner off the interstate. One of those places that hadn't changed since the 60 seconds, where the coffee was always hot and the waitresses called you honey. Inside, the air smelled of bacon, grease, and nostalgia. Cole ordered black coffee. Grace went for a grilled cheese, and Ranger lay quietly by their booth, tail occasionally thumping against the floor whenever a child walked by. Grace looked up from her cup. Do you ever wonder why you keep doing this? Cole arched a brow. You mean chasing people who don't want to be found? She nodded. You could have retired years ago, bought a cabin somewhere quiet, lived like normal folks. He gave a small, tired smile. Maybe I don't know what normal looks like anymore. Grace leaned back. You ever have family? For a moment, the question hung heavy. Cole's eyes drifted toward the window, to the horizon fading into the amber glow of sunset. Used to, he said finally. A wife, a little boy. Grace didn't press, but the silence that followed said everything. After a while, Cole stood. Come on, we've got ground to cover before dawn. They drove through the night, reaching Houston by sunrise. Industrial skylines replaced open plains, smokestacks, refineries, and sprawling warehouses that glinted dull silver in the morning haze. Grace pointed ahead. There. Building D 4 coordinates match. Cole pulled off the road, stopping behind a line of freight containers. Through binoculars, he surveyed the site. The warehouse loomed like a fortress barbed fencing. Motion sensors, 2 guards at the main gate. Trucks came and went, unmarked, but every movement felt rehearsed. Looks quiet, Grace said. Too quiet, Cole muttered. He reached into the glove box, pulled out a small handheld scanner, and handed it to her. Run perimeter frequency sweeps. I want to know if they're pinging external servers. She nodded and slipped out the door. Ranger pressed his nose to the cracked window, tail stiff. Cole noticed the shift in his breathing, the subtle growl building in his chest. What is it, boy? Ranger's gaze locked on a truck pulling up to the rear of the facility. 2 men stepped out, both wearing reflective vests but carrying no delivery manifests. One of them lifted a black case the size of a shoebox, sleek, metal, and far too secure for ordinary freight. Cole's instincts flared. Grace, heads up, he said over the comm. We've got movement behind the north dock. I see them, she replied. You think it's another data courier? Something bigger? They watched as the men disappeared inside the building. Then, moments later, one of the overhead fans flickered, lights dimming, a low electrical hum spreading through the lot. Grace's voice came through again, tense. Cole, they're activating something. The scanner just spiked. Cole's blood ran cold. They're transmitting again. He started the engine. We're going in. Ranger barked once, sharp and ready. Cole glanced down at him. All right, partner, let's finish what we started. And he drove the car around the outer fence, tires crunching over gravel until they found a breach near the loading ramp. Beyond it, the warehouse loomed silent, its metal doors reflecting the pale orange light of dawn. He cut the engine, grabbed his badge and flashlight, and looked at Grace. No heroics. We stick together. You see a console, you pull the feed. She nodded. And if they see us first? Cole gave a small, grim smile. Then Ranger makes the introductions. The dog's tail wagged once. They slipped through the gap in the fence, moving low and fast toward the loading dock. Inside, machinery hummed, faint blue lights pulsing along the walls like veins of electricity. Whatever was happening inside the vault, it wasn't just about stolen data anymore. It was about control. And Cole could feel in his bones that they were running out of time. Inside the warehouse, the air buzzed faintly, filled with the hum of cooling fans and the smell of oil. Cole and Grace moved between rows of metal crates glowing with blue LED strips. Ranger padded ahead, nose twitching, alert to every sound. At the far end stood a massive server tower, the vault. Thick cables ran from its base like roots, feeding into hundreds of drives. On a nearby monitor, lines of encrypted data streamed fast enough to blur. Grace's voice was low. They're uploading the whole network to an external node. Cole stepped closer. Can you shut it down? Maybe, she said, already typing. But whoever's on the other side knows we're here. A metallic click echoed behind them. 2 armed guards stepped from the shadows. Step away from the console, one barked. Cole raised his hand slowly, calm. You boys really think you're protecting justice? You're selling it. The man hesitated, just long enough for Ranger to move. With a single sharp bark, the dog lunged, knocking one guard off balance, while Cole disarmed the other with practiced precision. Grace's fingers flew over the keyboard. I've got it. I'm rerouting the uplink. Cole pinned the second guard and looked back. Kill the signal. A final keystroke. The screen flashed, data stream terminated. The vault's hum dimmed, lights fading to black. For a heartbeat, the entire room went still. Grace exhaled shakily. It's over, M. Cole glanced at Ranger. now standing proud, chest rising with steady breaths. "No," he said softly. "It's safe. That's what it is." He pulled out his radio. "This is Marshall Maddox. The vault is neutralized. Get child services on the line. I'm keeping my promise." Outside, morning light spilled over the concrete yard. Cole knelt beside Ranger, scratching behind his ear. "You did good, partner. Real good." "Oh." The shepherd wagged his tail once, as if he knew that somewhere a little girl could finally sleep without fear. The late afternoon sun bathed Denver International in gold as Cole stepped off the transport plane. The chaos of Houston felt far away now, just the soft rhythm of rolling luggage, the murmur of voices, and the quiet hum of ordinary life returning. Ranger trotted beside him, tail wagging lazily, the fatigue in his stride softened by calm satisfaction. Grace followed a few paces behind, a small smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "You really did it," she said. "You stopped the whole network." Cole shook his head lightly. "We did it. And him," he added, glancing down at Ranger. The dog huffed, as if agreeing. Child Services had arranged a meeting room near the security office neutral ground. Cole paused at the door, steadying himself. For the first time in years, his hands trembled. This wasn't an interrogation. It wasn't justice or paperwork. It was something quieter, more fragile redemption. Inside, little Ellie sat curled on a chair, her stuffed rabbit clutched tight. She looked up when the door opened, her green eyes widening. "Officer Cole?" He smiled faintly. "Hey, kiddo. You remembered my name." She nodded, then slid off the chair and ran straight to Ranger, throwing her arms around his neck. The dog stood perfectly still, then leaned into her hug with a low, happy rumble. Grace lingered by the door, watching with a softened expression. "Is my mommy okay?" Ellie asked, voice small but steady. Cole crouched to her level. "She's safe," he said gently. "And she's getting help. She told the truth, and that matters." Ellie looked down. "I miss her." He nodded. "I know, but she loves you more than you think. Everything she did, even the bad parts, it was because she was scared of losing you." Tears welled in her eyes. "Will she come back?" "Someday," Cole said softly. "When it's safe." Ranger nudged her hand and she giggled through her tears. "He's brave," she said. Cole smiled. "Yeah, he's got a good heart, kind of like someone else I know." They sat like that for a moment, a tired marshal, a little girl, and a dog who'd seen too much but still believed in goodness. Then Grace's phone buzzed. "It's headquarters," she said quietly. "They want your statement, Cole. You're a hero again." And he sighed, standing. "Never was one." She tilted her head. "Maybe not, but you keep saving people anyway." Cole looked down at Ellie. "Heroes don't always wear uniforms, Grace." Ranger barked softly, as if agreeing. Cole took a small envelope from his coat and handed it to Ellie. "Your mom wrote this for you before we left. She wanted you to have it." The girl turned it over in her hands. "Can you read it to me?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Sure." He unfolded the paper carefully. The handwriting was shaky, but the words were clear. "My sweet Ellie, if you're reading this, it means you're safe. That's all I ever wanted. Be kind, be brave, and remember the truth might scare people, but it never breaks you." Cole's throat tightened. He folded the letter and gave it back. "She's proud of you, kiddo." Ellie looked up at him, smiling through her tears. "I'm proud of you too, Officer Cole." For the first time in years, he didn't deflect. He just smiled and said, "Thanks, sweetheart." Ranger's tail thumped against the floor, a quiet punctuation to the moment that felt like peace. The meeting room was quiet, sunlight spilling across the floor. Ellie sat beside Ranger, tracing her small fingers through his fur. For the first time, her laugh sounded light, real. Cole watched, hands in his pockets, the weight of weeks lifting slowly from his shoulders. Grace stood by the door, smiling. "She's safe now," she said. He nodded. "Yeah, that's what matters." Ellie looked up. "Will you visit me?" Cole crouched, smiling faintly. "You bet. Ranger, too. He doesn't forget friends." The girl giggled as Ranger barked softly, tail sweeping the floor. Cole reached out, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Be brave, Ellie. Your mom's trying to make things right. So am I." Grace opened the door. They're waiting, Marshal. Cole stood, glancing one last time at the little girl and the dog who had brought her back from fear. Guess we kept our promise, huh, partner? Ranger wagged his tail once a quiet yes. As they stepped into the fading light of the terminal, Cole felt a calm he hadn't known in years. Justice, he realized, wasn't always about punishment. Sometimes it was about keeping one promise and earning a second chance. Morning light washed over the Denver skyline as Cole parked near the airfield fence. The chaos was long behind him now, just the distant hum of engines and the clean, calm air of a new day. Ranger sat beside him in the passenger seat, tongue lolling lazily, tail tapping the dashboard. Cole took a slow breath, watching the planes lift into the golden sky.
You know, partner, he murmured, we've been running for a long time. Maybe now we can just breathe.
Ranger tilted his head, as if listening. A gentle knock at the window broke the quiet. Grace stood outside, holding 2 coffees. You look like a man trying to remember what peace feels like, she said. He smiled faintly. Maybe I am. They sat on the hood of the car, sipping coffee in silence. Child Services called, Grace said after a moment. Ellie's been placed with a foster family near Boulder. Safe place. Lots of open fields. Cole nodded. Good. She deserves that. She asked if Ranger could visit, Grace added. At that, Cole chuckled. The sound soft, but genuine. Tell her he's already packing. Ranger barked once, proud and certain. Grace glanced at him. What about you, Cole? What now? He looked toward the horizon. Maybe I'll take some time. There's a cabin near Estes Park, quiet. Plenty of space for a dog who's earned his rest. Grace smiled. You'll last a week before you start chasing something again. Maybe, he said. But this time, I'll make sure it's something that matters. The sun rose higher, painting the runway in gold. Cole reached down, scratching Ranger's neck. You did good, boy. You reminded me what right looks like. Ranger leaned into the touch, eyes warm, steady. As a plane roared overhead, Cole felt something rare and steady, a peace that didn't come from victory, but from understanding. He'd kept his promise. The girl was safe. The truth had won, at least this time. He stood, hands in his pockets, voice low. Come on, partner. Let's go home. Ranger barked once, and together they walked toward the rising sun, 2 silhouettes framed in light, proof that even in a world full of shadows, a little courage could still make it bright again. There's something about a quiet morning after a long storm, that stillness when the wind stops, and all that's left is the sound of your own heartbeat. As the sun rose over Denver that day, Cole Maddox stood beside his loyal partner, Ranger, watching planes lift into the soft gold of dawn. The case was over, but the weight it carried of guilt, redemption, and love rediscovered lingered like the echo of a promise kept. Somewhere in a small Colorado town, a little girl was laughing again. And that, more than justice or headlines, was what mattered. Sometimes life gives us second chances, not through grand victories, but through small acts of grace, a kind word, a gentle hand, the courage to forgive. Cole learned, as many of us do with time, that redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about finding the strength to build something good from it. Love, forgiveness, and family. Those are the quiet miracles that outlast every scar. Like the porch light left on for someone returning home, a single act of compassion can guide us through even the darkest nights. And maybe that's what growing older teaches best, that every moment of kindness, no matter how small, is a seed of hope for someone else's tomorrow. So tonight, as you finish this story, maybe think of your own, the people you've forgiven, or the ones still waiting for your call. Because in the end, justice isn't just about right and wrong. It's about love finding its way back home. If this story touched your heart, leave a 1-inch the comments. If it didn't, or if there's something you'd like to share, press 0, and let's keep talking about the power of love, redemption, and the families we build along the way. Like the glow of a warm kitchen after a long winter's night, kindness, even quiet, unseen, always brings us home.